You lose I am the doer in that case. When you have wide sight, you don't take on I did it. That's actually what's being said here. Offer everything to the divine. And then if you share in those results, you are free. Because then you're not the doer. Listen, this is not conceptual, it's not theoretical. Like anything else, it's a practice. Just like we're somehow conditioned to looking at the immediate thing, you have to condition yourself to widen, with a wider lens. Widen your perspective. Look with the big picture in mind. So, shall I just continue with verse 9 and see if that connects up to where he is? Okay? Mala, please proceed.
यज्ञार्थात् कर्मणोऽन्यत्र लोकोऽयं कर्मबन्धनः तदर्थं कर्म कौन्तेय मुक्तसङ्गः समाचरा.
Man is bound by his action except when it's performed for the sake of sacrifice. Therefore, Arjuna, do you efficiently perform your duty, free from attachment, for the sake of sacrifice alone? This we covered the last time, right? Okay. Number 10.
सह यज्ञा प्रजा सृष्ट्वा पुरोवाचा प्रजापतिः अनेन प्रवसिष्यध्वम् एषवोऽस्त इष्टकामधुक्.
Having created mankind along with the spirit of sacrifice at the beginning of creation, the Creator Brahma said to them, "You shall prosper by this. May this yield the enjoyments you seek." That's insane. Did you hear what? Listen. Having created mankind along with the spirit of sacrifice at the beginning of creation, the Creator Brahma said to them, "You shall prosper by this. May this yield the enjoyments you seek." We've been saying this, right? Inherent in life is action. You cannot be in inaction. We've been discussing this, correct? For the last 2, maybe 3 sessions. For some of you who've heard that, right? That's what we've been discussing. And we've been saying so, but here it is. It's inherent in existence that we act in the spirit of sacrifice, meaning in service. Not for me, because everything is one. Inherent in creation is we act for one, so that you enjoy. In the spirit of sacrifice, there is to be enjoyment. We can't help but do that. Oftentimes we say, if people are like that, why would I do that? And then Gurudev will often say, see, it's up to you what you do, how you behave. Correct? But when somebody is kind, when you're moving from that space, no matter what's happening at the other end, it's very hard not to be pinched if you try to do something that's not okay within alignment of ethics or morality or goodness or positivity or optimism. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is a profound thing. Having created mankind along with sacrifice at the beginning of creation, inherent in us is to give. Inherent in us to be a part of, to share. And you know this with children. Have you seen some, I remember in India, like somebody brings a big bar of chocolate from abroad and then they give it to the parents, and then kids, being kids, "Oh, I have chocolate at home." And the parents get a little pinched, like, "Why did you go tell the neighborhood?" Right? Because there's just so much. But then you bring the neighborhood kids over, and then the parents break the chocolate, and of course all the kids are looking, and you get a piece and the other kids get a piece. But have you noticed, amazingly enough, there's always one piece that breaks just a bit bigger than the other pieces? Yes or no? Yes. You parents, isn't that how you distribute your whatever at a party, even cakes and all that? Yes or no? Yes?
Yes.
But in kids, inherent is to give, to share, to see the sense of inclusion that we're born into. It's a profound statement. Having created mankind along with sacrifice at the beginning of creation, the Creator Brahma said to them, "You shall prosper by this, and may this yield the enjoyments you seek." It's a call to be a giver, even if you're not. Yes? Read, Mala.
देवान् भावयतानेन ते देवा भावयन्तु वः परस्परं भावयन्तः श्रेयः परमवाप्स्यथा.
Foster the gods through this sacrifice, and let the gods be gracious to you. Thus, each fostering the other selflessly, you will attain the highest good. They've already explained it, no, so beautifully. It's not that your sadhana or your satsang, it's just for you. The angels rejoice in it. There's a sigh of relief, and as a result of that, they bless us. So we do satsang, we do sadhana, we come together in knowledge and wisdom and in giving and sharing. They become happy, and as a result, they bestow blessings. It's kind of cool, huh? No? Maybe foster is not a good word. I do not know Sanskrit enough to say it. Is there somebody here who knows? Mala, do you know, is foster a good translation? Foster the gods through this sacrifice probably means what Gurudev said. No, as you sing, you bring pleasure, joy to the gods, nourishment to the devas, and as a result, they bless us back. Huh?
What is the Sanskrit
It's
word?
a natural exchange for one another to, and that's what was in the previous sentence. Nurture may be a better word, but that was in the previous verse, correct? It's inbuilt, it's inherent. You give and receive, and it's a two-way street, and let that bring joy and pleasure and enjoyment. Continue.
इष्टान् भोगान् हि वो देवा दास्यन्ते यज्ञभाविताः तैर्दत्तानप्रदायेभ्यो यो भुङ्क्तेस्तेन एव सः.
The virtuous who partake of what is left over after sacrifice are absolved of all sins. Those sinful ones who cook for the sake of nourishing their bodies alone partake of sin only. So let's first get rid of the word sin. Huh?
Just read the previous verse.
Without offering.
Start again. Say that again. Oh, I see. Foster the gods through this sacrifice, and let the gods be gracious to you. Thus, each fostering the other selflessly, you will attain the highest good. That was the previous verse. And then the one I read before is the verse now. Fostered by sacrifice, the gods will surely bestow on you. It's the same. What Gurudev said is exactly what's going on. As we do sadhana, satsang, we nourish them, and they in return nourish us back, give us blessings, support, And this was ordained in creation, meaning it's inherent in consciousness to be a giver. This notion of selfishness is not in consciousness. That's the small mind. Correct? Inherent within consciousness, the quality of consciousness of Sat, Chit, and Ananda is oneness. Giver, if you want to use that word. Outside of that box, when we get caught up in the mind, which gets illumined by consciousness, in it is me and mine, but not inherent in who we are. What's Arjuna's biggest battle? What's he going through in the war? Me and mine. That's the whole battlefield, all of life, all of what Arjun's talking about in the Bhagavad Gita, what we each go through is nothing beyond this sense of what is me and what is mine. Whether it's people, places, things, beliefs, ideas, assumptions, likes, dislikes, if they're mine, they mean one thing. If the same idea is in someone else, you interact and deal with it in a different way. Are we clear? Go.
यज्ञशिष्टाशिनः सन्तो मुच्यन्ते सर्वकिल्बिषैः भुञ्जन्ते अघं पापा ये पचन्त्यात्मकारणात्.
The virtuous who partake of what is left over after sacrifice are absolved of all sins. Those sinful ones who cook for the sake of nourishing their bodies alone partake of sin only. So let's get rid of the word sin. Maybe we could speak about it in terms of merits. That's the word Gurudev used, right? It sounds a little cryptic, but I don't think it is as cryptic as it sounds. What you partake of after sacrifice, meaning when you give and you also take, there is no merit or demerit. You're absolved of it. You are not creating karmas, as in consequence. When you offer it and then you take, you are free. But if you're doing things, if your actions are simply to serve the body, just for me and mine and the body, then we take on cause and effect, consequence. Is that clear? Yes. Do you hear? But again, you have to go back, right? There's so many in these sentences. If you partake of what is left over after sacrifice, after having offered it, prasad, after you've offered it and then you receive. So it's actually telling us all that you do, all that you think, all that you receive, the fruits of our actions. What do you do with it? Offer it. That's actually what's being said here. Offer everything to the divine. And then if you share in those results, you are free, because then you're not the doer. But if you start doing it just for you, the me and the mind, the body, the identity, the small self, then you have karma, you have consequence, cause and effect. Actually, Gurudev speaks about this so many ways. We've heard about this so many times. Offer everything to the divine. If you're feeding the children, you see it as the divine in that form that you're feeding, that you're taking care of, versus my kids. The moment you get into my kids, who has the burden of whatever happens with the kids? We do, right? If you go to work, this notion of being part of the divine play and being at work and offering your actions and the results of that action. You know, if Gurudev was sitting here and he was saying what I'm saying, something to that effect, my question would be, well, exactly how do we offer? Is that question there?
Yes.
I don't think it's how. It's just the awareness that I'm part of one big whole. There's consciousness within all that I see, touch, and feel. All those who I see, touch, and feel. They are the same. There is a divine spark in this person, the same that is in me. If you just have that little awareness, you have naturally offered. But we don't have that awareness. What do we have? I'm here. This is me. And that's other, and we do break the piece of chocolate a little bit unevenly when we share it. Correct? And then there's a consequence. You might even share it unevenly. You might still break it unevenly. If you somehow have this notion of the divine in this child is asking for more, here's more, not to manipulate your ideas, right, of me and mine, but if you really felt that, I'm telling myself and you this one simple thing. Even if it's conceptual, even if it's just theoretical, just the remembrance that this is part of this divine Leela. And right now, I am sharing with those that are just like me. And that consciousness is one. If you have that awareness, you don't have lenden. You hear me? Lena dena. The give and take that continuously happens because we exchange what we call salt, because we exchange energy, because I give, you take, because you take, I give, vice versa. We owe each other something and it never comes to an end. And we can barely deal with the things we have done in memory in this lifetime. True? We did something 5 years ago, 10 years ago, however much knowledge we have, it depends on who you are and what the situation. You can't let go. Imagine if we could remember things from another time, another life, another moment of time in which we have no memory. Yes? That's why he said, Gurudev said, karma is so complex. We ask, why is this happening to me when we're miserable? We don't ask, how come I have so much joy and happiness? Why is this happening to me? That we relish, we enjoy it, and we own it. We think it's happening to me because I deserve it and I'm cool and it's important and it should happen to me. But this misery, whether it's health challenges or financial challenges or parental challenges or children, why me? This afternoon, we were talking at Rishma and Vishal's place. And we were discussing how we don't have far-sightedness. I was talking about this book, War and Peace, you know, the book, and how depending on how short you look at the history, you will create cause and effect. But if you go far out in history, you won't know what created what result. So if you say, oh, Bill Clinton in his presidency, you're looking at his 4 years or 8 years, or maybe you stretch out the previous president, correct? And you say he was very successful. But you've only gone this far in your memory. If you were to go further and further and further and further, you will not be able to say where cause began, where the effect came in, which effect is a cause and which cause is an effect. Isn't that so?
Yes.
You lose I am the doer in that case. When you have wide sight, you don't take on I did it. It's because of me. Or why is it happening to me? Do you understand this? And that's why, I mean, it's maybe a blessing and a curse. If we wanted to see that, we don't remember things. If we did, perhaps we would chill out a little bit more. But then we wouldn't be able to handle it. You see? Someone's sending me a translation. Instead of foster the God, please the gods. Yeah, please the gods. We get very short-sighted. The example Gurudev used was of the highway. We have this notion of past, present, and future. Right now, sitting here, if I look, I can just see 3 or 4 directions at best, right? But if you go high enough above, you've seen this on an airplane, when you're on the flight and you look out, it looks like they're coming in from there and going out through there, correct? And you're just staring out the window. And as the flight is taking off, you keep looking, you suddenly see 10 different ways to get in and out of the same spot. And at some point, you see far enough ahead, you see far enough behind you and to the side. There is no now and past and future, because suddenly your sight, the visual, sees it all. It's very, very wide. And in our life, the lesson is this: when we're stuck, when we feel miserable, when we feel unhappy, what is the trick? Based on what we're saying, what's the trick? Exactly. Expand your awareness. There, and at the end, you will find nothing but divine will, because you cannot link it to because effect. Are you understanding what I'm saying? That's how you then surrender to there's a bigger power at play. There's something more than me or them, me or other that's going on. I surrender. This is your prasad. Remember last week, I said it's fine and easy and dandy to say what I have been given is prasad when everything is great. But when life is tough, when moments are hard, you have to know that's where the light is going to get through that crack, as Rumi says. That is also prasad to take you and me to our higher, greater good. Yeah? All happy, everything hunky-dory, you will never even be sitting here, would you? Well, what? Correct? If everything in life is as you want it to be, why would you be here? But then you would be shallow and insensitive, and I bet you anything, you'd find yourself bored. You look around at the people who kind of have everything. They need more and more and more and more intensity to feel even. Yes? More and more is needed. More and more drama is needed. More and more, I don't know, intensity is required to feel even. Everything? There's a couple more comments. 1 second. I remember there's an experiment in development psychology with children that one gets a piece and the other child doesn't. The one that receives shares with the other kid. Yeah, actually, I've been seeing also those on Instagram. They have two kids sitting there, and on one they put two halves of an orange or two pieces of donuts or whatever it might be, and the other one is left empty. And if you watch, the one that's empty is just looking and looking and looking and looking, and they're about to go at it like I didn't get it, I got left behind. And you see the little kid, the one who got two, sometimes they put both in that plate, but for sure they put one, and if there's a difference in size, they pick the bigger one and put it. You really look, I have seen quite a few of this. I don't know, Antonia, if that's where you got it, but I have seen quite a lot of them. And they put two kids there to say, what is it that's different about you two? They ask two kids, what's different about you two? And one might be Chinese and one might be Indian, one might be, boy. And they just look at each other and then say, he likes Cheerios. They never look at the obvious that the adults look at. Oh, he likes Cheerios. What is it? She talks more than I do. And then that person will be the talking one. They never see what we see. Inherent by the Creator is unity. See? So beautiful. I know that Mala is not the one chanting, but I don't know the name of who is chanting, so I'm just calling you Mala.
It's Hema Didi.
Emma is chanting today. Okay. Mala, Hema, it's all one.
Japan.
Okay, please go ahead, Hema.
अन्नाद् भवन्ति भूतानि पर्जन्यादन्नसम्भवः यज्ञाद् भवति पर्जन्यो यज्ञः कर्मसमुद्भवः.
All beings are evolved from food. Production of food is dependent on rain. Rain ensues from sacrifice, and sacrifice is rooting in prescribed action. Know that prescribed action has its origin in the Vedas, and the Vedas proceed from the indestructible. Hence, the all-pervading infinite is always present in sacrifice. I kind of feel like crying a little, when I read these things because it's so big, no? All beings are evolved from food. We're not this body. Food makes this body. Earth, water, fire, air, all the elements. We're beyond the elements. This we know, we've heard this 1,000 times. Consciousness is not The elements. Yes? All beings are evolved from food. Production of food is dependent on the rain. We're not only beyond it, but if you're tapped into it, even thinking about food as an actual, grain, fruits, vegetables, who are we to say I did it is really the point that it's headed to. Because if you bought the grapes, somebody else grew them, somebody else picked them. And whoever picked them, whoever grew them, had to grow it on this piece of earth that doesn't belong to them, right? They say God cries or laughs when people say, this is my land. Where did you get it from? Right? And even if that land you say is mine, it doesn't work if it doesn't rain or if there's no sun. And that's a gift. The sacrifice, meaning it's given to you, as we discussed in the first 4 or 5 verses. Are you hearing this? Yes? Rain ensues from sacrifice, and sacrifice is rooted in prescribed action. Know that prescribed action has its origin in the Vedas. It's also what they've said. What did he say? What action yields what fruit is not knowable. In today's talk, he used these fairly similar words that I'm saying. What action yields what fruit is not knowable. And so we go on thinking, I planted the seed, it rained, the sun came, and that's why, and because I was smart enough to rake it, or because I was smart enough to put the pesticide in and tie a vine to it, or whatever it is, that's why these grapes came and they grew so much and we had such a big crop, and that's how I made money, and then that's how I bought this house, and that's why I'm walking around all hot stuff. Yes? We own so much of it and we forget that it's all prescribed, meaning you have no way of knowing the results of your actions. They just appear like it's all connected, but in fact, it's prescribed, meaning it's inherent. There's a higher, bigger, greater power that's running all that we get or don't get. All right, now conceptually you could say, oh yeah, but that's not our belief, is it? We really believe we're doing everything. Don't we believe that? Everything we do comes as a result of our effort. We believe this, don't we? But then you have to really examine. So many times in the smallest to the biggest of things, you've taken care of 4 things and there's a 5th thing that you didn't even think about, and you have amazing results, or you didn't think about it, you don't have great results. Sometimes you do a little bit, you have no result. Sometimes you do a little bit, you have great results. True or false? If I know that if I look back in my life and I say, how did I get to America? How did I meet Guruji? It's a question that everybody asks. Oh, tell us your story. How did you meet Guruji? It depends on how far I look. If I just look to that day, I say, oh, I was going to a music concert and it ended up being Gurudev Ravi Shankar instead of Pandit Ravi Shankar, the musician. If I go a little further back, I say, oh, I had this crazy case on Sunday and I happened to see a magazine and think I made a phone call. I made the phone call. If I go a little bit further back, I used to live in New York, but then my job transferred me to Los Angeles. And so then I was alone there and I thought, oh, I need to find a husband. So I went to a music concert where I thought there would be Indian people there. Do you see? There's layers and layers of reasons, and none of them are true or all of them are true. If you really explore, if you really examine how you are where you are, you'll see that you cannot link it to any one thing or 10 things, in which case you step out of the way and then you have to see this is a gift. Then it becomes an offering. But we don't actually examine our life like that, do we? We really don't. We examine other people's life like that. Oh, they got lucky. True? We say, no, I don't know, they got lucky. Oh, they have all the good connections, something. Yes? Okay, one more verse.
कर्म ब्रह्मोद्भवं विद्धि ब्रह्माक्षरसमुद्भवं तस्मात् सर्वगतं ब्रह्म नित्यं यज्ञे प्रतिष्ठितम्.
What number did you read?
15.
All beings are evolved from food. That same one?
Yeah, the English is combined for the two.
14 and 15 is combined. Okay.
Yeah.
All beings are evolved from food. Production of food is dependent on rain. Your life is dependent on so many things more than you think. And if we have a little awareness of that, eyes naturally close in gratitude. And the gratitude only goes to a power that is unseen. That is called an offering. And then if you enjoy the fruits, whatever you have no consequence. Oh, thank you, God, for the rain, so these grapes could grow and land on my plate. No? But we don't think that far. We only look from ground level altitude and not from high above. And it is a practice. Listen, this is not conceptual, it's not theoretical. Like anything else, it's a practice. Just like we're somehow conditioned to looking at the immediate thing, you have to condition yourself to widen, with a wider lens. Widen your perspective. Look with the big picture in mind. And that happens if you ask. I'll tell you a little secret. When I first started in Art of Living, when I would get stuck with something or someone, I would have very clear cause and effect in my mind. It's a lawyer, right? So we link things. There would be a very clear this and that. Because of this, that happened. I wouldn't deny myself because I couldn't fake it. What I believed, what my mind was very sure of, I could not negate. So I would leave that as one option. And then I would ask myself to come up with 4 other possibilities of why this same thing could happen. Did you get what I'm saying to you? Yes. Let's just say you're walking into satsang and the person that you're not that fond of is in front of you. You love everybody else, but this one you love just a little less. They're in front of you. And they walk in and the door slams on your face and you were bringing a cake for somebody and the cake goes on you. And then you go to a friend, the one that you love a lot, and say, I know why she did that. It's because she, on such and such a date, and you go into cause and effect, that it happened intentionally by this purpose, because they don't like you. Maybe that is true, accurate. Truth is not a good word anymore. Maybe that's accurate perception. But now, add 4 more possibilities of how that exact thing could happen. One is what? She didn't know you were even back there. 2, she's not as aware as you think. She's busy looking in the room. Maybe she's a little nervous coming into a room full of people because she hasn't been to satsang in a long time. Find 4 other reasons why the same thing could happen. Guess what will happen to you? Your truth. It happened because she doesn't like me. It was purposeful. What will happen to that truth? It will loosen its grip. Because you really do not know. We really have no way of knowing why it happened, why someone did what they did. Now let's just assume that it is accurate. They did it deliberately because they don't like you. Isn't it worth it for your own tendency and for your own energy to perceive one of the other 4 things that are more simple and innocent? Which one would work for you? That is what you should choose. Are you clear? Yes. It's an exercise. Don't make these things into some nice hearing that goes in and say, oh, that was so amazing or so interesting. I didn't get it. One of those things will happen. What is she talking about? I don't know if she got it. It's true. Very possible. She could be making anything up over here. I don't know, you know. But choose the perception that would work for your mind to be at peace, to keep unity. Inherent in who we are, we know this as children, is we saw everything as one. Only as we got older did we start to divide and separate me and other, you and them. Yes? If we're going to practice what is being told by Lord Krishna, which is offer everything, your actions and your fruits. And you can't theoretically offer it. You have to tweak your understanding and broaden the perspective. When you stop creating cause and effect that's so small, then you land at, this is bigger than I realize. And that naturally brings you to a place of something higher, bigger, greater good. You don't have to go back to the Big Bang Theory to get to that state. Just a little bit. Just expand a little bit. Am I clear? Mm-hmm. That's our homework for the week. Okay? If something happens, pleasant or unpleasant. It's not just if something is bad. Pleasant or unpleasant. Find 4 other perspectives that could give you that same result. And you see what happens to your own mind. Will do it? Mm-hmm. Everybody will do it? Okay. Any question or comment? Let me see. In person or online. The word sacrifice has its origin in the Latin word sacrificum, which is a combination of 2 other Latin words, sacre meaning sacred or holy, and farce meaning to make or to do. Therefore, the original sense of sacrificum was the making of something sacred, typically by offering it to a deity. So beautiful. Thank you, Alex. See how we support each other? Angels get happy when we do this and find an aha and come together. Is it beautiful, no? Yes. Offering, typically by offering it to a deity. So when you eat, you pray, don't you? You first offer it to God. Look what happens. Let's say you don't like prunes, but that's what was offered. You will still eat it and you will not complain. Have you noticed? And you eat it with honor. Do you know what an offering is? Yeah. If you have almonds and dates and whatever, dry fruits, and you happen to get a prune, you don't complain. But if your mom gives you prunes, you're like, Mom, what do you do? I don't like prunes. I told you I don't want it. It's good for you. Don't tell me I don't want the prunes. And you complain, correct? But because it's prasad, because it's been offered, you take it with honor. You know, people actually like, there's a gesture of really honoring. It's not just a thought process or feeling, but you really see it as something more. And what these verses are saying is that all that has been given to you to enjoy, you encapsulated, the divine encapsulated in this form, right, has been created for your play, for your joy. Do you see this? And so you treat it all as prasad, as an offering. Then even the difficult things, the challenging things, you say, oh, this will serve me. Okay, you want me to learn something here. You're taking me into a certain direction. I'm in gratitude. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's very easy to be grateful when things are going great. But when they're not, and still see a bigger, greater, higher power behind it to serve you and support you, you know, that is something more. No? Yes?
So, sometimes I ponder the concept of being a giver.
Huh?
And one thing that has come to my attention, like over the years, is the
I'll repeat it in a minute for you.
is that some people may give or be a giver, maybe for the wrong reasons, right? And someone might say, well, you know, no one will like me, so I'll be a giver, right? Or I want this person to be in my life, right? So I will give to them, right? And they assume that, well, maybe people who have low self-esteem, difficulty with relationships, or have lack of boundaries, right? That, you know, that person, you know, I'll always be a giver, right? For that reason. How do you distinguish, like the giver in the sense that you discussed, and sort of like a unhealthy, codependent ways of giving?
Yeah. So the question is, it's about a giver. Sometimes people are givers because I'm gonna, sort of paraphrase what you said, and you correct me if I'm off. But sometimes people are givers because they're just people pleasing, just simplifying. There's a reason that is considered codependent, or because you want to please somebody, versus the giver in the context that we're discussing. How would we separate the two? So the interesting thing is, mind has all kinds of reasons why it gives. Correct? It has all kinds of reasons, because you want somebody to like you, or just because you feel generous. Yes? You just feel generous. The fact of the matter is, your intent and action both get looked at in the big picture. Intent and action both get looked at. As a criminal lawyer, I think I mentioned this the last time, we know what gets punished. It's not just the result of what ended up happening, but your mens rea, where accidental, negligent, reckless, intentional, or premeditated. And accordingly, the consequences are there. Similarly, it's true for us. When we give for ulterior motive, people pleasing has an ulterior motive, correct? Then you're not a full giver. It's not that you're a full taker, but you are not a full giver in the sense that we are talking about. And that, yes, it gives you some merits. You're a giver also, nonetheless, it's making somebody happy, but also there's a consequence somewhere you struggle. But it's still better than not giving at all. So again, just like there was accident, negligence, recklessness, intentional, and premeditated or calculated, in the same way, how and where you give from makes a difference. So service, why do we do seva? It's a repetitive act of learning to give selflessly. The moment you have me and mine, if I do something for Reshma is mine, so I do something for her. Is that giving? Even if it's just to give out of love. Is it giving? Yes or no?
Yes.
It's a very interesting question. You think about this for a brief moment. Okay? Go back to the silly little example of a chocolate. I'm still giving to the kid. I don't have any ulterior motive. But one kid is mine, and the other kid is not. And I give. I'm asking the question, what I gave to my kid, is that giving?
Yes. It is giving.
Without ulterior motive?
No.
Not full giving.
It's not full giving.
Yeah, but it's still giving.
Because if they were not mine, I don't know that I would have given them. There's an ulterior motive. What is the ulterior motive? Me and mine. What's mine defines me. What's me defines me. There's something I get back in that. When my kid is a lawyer and a super famous one, I get something for it. I'm also something important. That's why parents love to brag. They feel good about themselves. Yes? Isn't it? If something's happening that's not good, maybe the child is failing or, has gone off, quote, the wrong track, they don't talk about it so much. They truly don't. They don't, it's not even that they don't share it, but they might come, Didi, I need to tell you something, I need help, my son, my daughter, this thing, but please don't tell anyone. The minute he gets an award, Didi, my son, like, tell everybody. There is mens rea involved in giving. And me and mine is the problem. That is what Arjun's dealing with. He's not saying, I don't want to kill. I'm reminding you again, he's not saying, I don't want the kingdom. He's not saying, I don't want to take revenge for my wife. That's not what he's saying. He said, I want all that. I just don't want to kill my own people. If they're strangers, let's go for it. That's what's going on here. There is an ulterior motive in giving to that which is me and mine. I'm not saying don't give. I'm saying recognize that. Does that answer your question? Okay. One more question. Surika ji, you look happy. Are you happy? There's a very big smile. Okay. Somebody had their hand up? Go ahead. Vera, go. I was wondering. I haven't heard from you in a while.
I actually just wanted to say about this thing. Yes, you may be giving to your own child, but it's better than starving your kid and not giving him the
Oh
chocolate.
my God, your mind is.
Just to teach the kid a lesson here. So, yeah, the
The
merit.
option is not give or starve your kid. That's not the point.
I know. Anyway, I just said, just to teach the kid a lesson. Sometimes parents will give to one and not give to the other. But anyway, I understand that there's that level of merit involved also, that if you give to your child, it's not the highest merit as it is to give to some stranger. I
No,
get.
I didn't say that also.
Okay.
You didn't say that there's more merit in giving to a stranger's child versus your own child. It's not what we're discussing. That is not what I said, right, sir? It's not what I said. I only have to answer to him. The rest of you didn't have that question.
The other point was this. Once somebody said to me, you worked very hard and you deserve what you get. And for a moment, I felt good. Then I said, I know so many people, my siblings, my friends, and they've worked just as hard or harder than me. And maybe they haven't got as much as I have got. So at that time, I came to the conclusion that I had been incredibly lucky.
Yeah, it's a gift.
And that's how I have been thinking all my life, that I was incredibly lucky, because other people have worked just as hard. They're just as, they're better than me in many ways. And I just lucked out. So as you said, you can't go back on karma and say which karma got me what. It's just that it is a gift. And and that's when the real gratitude came to me. Earlier, you say, oh, I'm grateful. You
Stop.
just said,
Now stop. That's a story already. Thank you for sharing.
I was staring. I said, that's when the gratitude came. And I was going to really stop there.
You had your hand up.
So I think you answered earlier saying that think of either your child, family, spouse, anybody, think it is a gift to you, given to you by God, right? And see divine in them, then it is okay.
If you see that, I don't know if you could hear, just we discussed it a little bit earlier, that this child is a gift given to you by God. This child is divine. And then, you're looking at it from another perspective. Look, the trick is the ability to separate me and mine, whether it's ideas, beliefs, people, situations, things. If you break the stool that belongs to you, you react one way. If you're a friend's house and it breaks, you go, come on, it's not a big deal, I'm sorry. Yes or no? And then she goes, oh yeah, remember the last time you came 10 years ago and you broke my stool? And you're it. She still is going on about her stool. Even when you buy him a new one, it's still stuck. If you break it, you don't go on reminding yourself of these things. The challenge is in me and mine. That is the biggest problem. And one of the things we discuss is when you get stuck, if you really want clarity of mind, clear perception, what to do, let's say around children, your sister's kids whom you love dearly, brother's kids, I don't know, some other person's children. You love the person dearly and you love those children dearly. If they were going through exactly what your child is going through, what would you say to that child or that parent? That's what you do with your kid. You'll have some distance in the me and mine. Then you might think more clearly. You might have more presence of mind. The child might listen to you, won't get so attached and caught up in the drama of it. The same exact thing, if another person's child is going through it, you're very quick to say, just give him a break. He's done the best he could. Your kid is going through it. How could you? Why could you? You could do better. Look what her kid did. And now how am I supposed to face the world and society? Don't go out, Mom. Just stay in the house. I'm just this. Do you understand? One more question. If you have a question online, you're next. Go.
So, Gurudev talked about Yagya, right? Can you talk a little bit more about that? So, the sacrifice that they were talking about in the shlokas is basically Yagya? Is that what's being referred to?
So, Gurudev spoke about Yagya. Can you speak about more on that? And the sacrifice that Gurudev spoke about in the verse, or is that what we're referring to? Yagya, Gurudev defined as coming together. The moment we operate in wider than me and mine, you have started to move towards Yagya. That's why I keep harping on this idea of me and mine. Even this example of if you take your children and respond, your spouse, if you interact with them, your work life, if it was your colleague going through exactly the same thing, how would you respond? You would have some distance from my job and what this boss is doing to me. You've moved from body-bound, me, isolated in this little space, to something wider. And in that, you've moved towards Yagya. Yagyas can be two or more who gather in my name, who move towards unity, who move towards the oneness, who recognize something bigger than me and myself and I. Haven't you noticed we always say, how come my meditation is so much better when I do it with a group? Whether it's a massive group or a group of 3. Don't you notice it's different? Mm-hmm. 3 or more gather in His name, you change the equation. No? You come into the room, you close your eyes, and you already feel like you've been meditating for a whole day because everybody's come with a certain intention of togetherness. This is a yagya. The highest kind of yagya is yagya of knowledge. There's the yagyas, the traditional, where there's offerings and all of those things. But when people gather in wisdom in His name, this is the highest yagya. One last question. We have 4 more minutes. Udit, go ahead, please. Let's.
Jai Gurudev Didi.
Jai
Yeah.
Gurudev.
So the question I have is, do we have control over all the intentions that go behind the action, or are they also like self-flowing sometimes?
Do we have control over all the intentions that go behind the action? Yes and no. We already have been through actions. Who has a choice over it? We do. Correct? That's what Lord Krishna said. You have choice of your actions, not in the results. Mensreya, what is our mind influenced by? So many things. The people, the surroundings, the situation, but more importantly, in answer to your question, our own tendencies. Right? Remember the gunas that Lord Krishna spoke about earlier, Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva. What mindset do you have? What are the karmas and the tendencies that you have come into the world with in this body, in this instrument? That guides our intentions. And what is being said by Lord Krishna, what you heard towards the end of chapter 2 and the beginning of chapter 3 is, when you do something from me and mine and slowly move towards for the divine, for some greater higher good. Remember, you go to ethics and morality, from me and mine to what's ethical, what's moral, what's legal, what's correct. And then you move to you and us, Win-win. First, it's just me, I win, that's it. And the other should lose. This is tamas. And then you say, I need to win, but correctly. But it's still I win. Are you with me? Then it's we both win. And then it's all a win. Not just we both win, it's all a win. There's a greater, higher power. So depending on the karmas, the tendencies, and the gunas with which our mindset has come to burn the karmas, the prarabdha, I should say, that governs the intention. But how you eat, what you do, your seva, that purifies your vasanas. Do you remember that? Krishna Bhagavan said, knowledge is the highest, yet if you didn't get it, here, do selfless service. That purifies our vasanas. Slowly, slowly, dense vasanas become thinner and more sattvic. Is that clear?
GD. Thank you.
Last question.
The results of an action should be offered to divinity.
Result and action is offered to the divine.
Can you tell us what does that mean practically? Let us say I win a lottery of let us say $1,000.
Yes.
Okay, I can say, oh, this is my God's blessing to me, and you take all the $1,000.
So yes, so you win a lottery. I have to repeat for them, right? And make sure they hear. So hold your question. So if I win a lottery, let's say $1,000, then I can say, oh, this is a gift from God. Continue.
And eat away all of it.
And then take the
And
$1,000.
eat away all of it. Is that
The verse says what? After having been offered, you can take the fruit. Does it not say that? Yes. But now if you just do it as a strategy to indulge in your $1,000, you know if you offered it or not. Is that clear? Could you hear everything? You can earn you win $1,000 in a lottery, and the person wants to know, if I just say, oh, thank you God for this $1,000, it's your will and I surrender this, and then you take all the $1,000 for yourself. Is that okay? Is that in line with what we were discussing? And I said, well, that's what it says. However, if you do it strategically, oh, I offered it so I won't get the karma, now let me eat myself and use the $1,000 just for me. You know if you did that or not, correct? It's sincere, it's not strategic. That becomes from accidental, negligent to what? Intentional. This is why they say don't try to beat the karma system. I don't know if they say it, but I'm saying it. You know, the royal bay, no? Don't try to beat the karma system. You cannot win. If you try to beat it, you just stuck your foot in it. Because it's now intentional. You're trying to outsmart God. Double dose.
Oh my God.
So be innocent, simple. Don't get into trying to beat the system. I gave you, what is the homework? Just widen your lens, that's all. That is the only thing to do. Widen your perspective and you'll really see it's not all you. Whatever you have, someone supported you through it. Whoever, whatever, whether it's nature or person or a group of people or guru or whoever, you know. Just that much is enough. Okay? 2 minutes later, let's close our eyes a second. Shall we have one bhajan? Let's have one Om Namo Bhagavate or something.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate
Also say that for the
Jai Gurudev. Don't think so much. You're safe, you got a guru. Just hold that thread and he'll make sure the head doesn't get busy and keep guiding you where we need to be. Yes? Keep doing some seva. Giving when somebody else has an idea, deliberately and purposefully say, all right, I'm going to be bigger because God, you want this being to do that. Okay, good, go for it. Okay? Don't. You can't do seva and come here with all your corporate mindset. Not possible. You need a different mindset for that, you know? Different rules for different games, right? You might like a white ball, but you don't use the little guy for soccer, you use the big round ball. And you can't hit it with a bat into the net, you have to use your foot. Penalties are there for breaking rules and applying them in different places. So staying alert and learning to give in, you won't lose so much. Okay? Jai Gurudev. Tata.
Jai Gurudev. Thank you.